Ladies and gentlemen, please rise. And now to honor America, please join in the singing of our national anthem. Representing the three-time Stanley Cup champion New Jersey Devils, Arlette.
I feel like I'm at a game. Oh my gosh. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Oh man. Oh, I totally screwed that one up. This is just I got to do it over again. Let's do it over.
Hold on. Before you do this, let's not forget to mention you were just boasting to the two of us how you are now a professional producer today.
Yeah.
Because of your earlier shows in the day.
That is very true. I don't even think we should do it. Just let it lay. Let it lay. It's like a bad golf shot. Just now we're gonna have to hit it where it lays. That's it.
Yep.
That one.
Yep.
That one's
Drop
right
zone.
in the bunker, but that's okay.
No, I got to
Get up the old trusty sand wedge. Blast it out of
Happy Devil's Sunday. I'm
Beer Baron,
terrible.
Beer Baron, did you say a sand wedge or a Sam wedge? Because it can go either way.
Ken.
Oh, that was horrible. All right. Well, I'll have to fix that. This is the
I don't know.
This is
First two games.
Put
of
it
the
in
series.
the notes. Put it in the notes.
This is the Let's Go podcast, season 1, episode 28. It's a happy Devils Sunday. I'm lying. The Devils are down 0-2, down 2 games to the Tampa Bay Lightning. I am your host, Sam Wu. Guys, I know a lot of Devils fans are a little depressed right now. Tampa Bay is looking very, very good. Not the team that we saw in the regular season. Now there's questions of goaltender. Is it Schneider? Is it Keith Kincaid? What does John Hines do? There's a lot of questions going on about that right now. Somebody that's going to come onto the program, he's not just somebody, he's a former captain, Stanley Cup champion. Bruce Driver will come on to the Let's Go Devils podcast around 9:20 p.m. To discuss about what's going on with the New Jersey Devils. What does Andy Green tell the young team as they go into Game 3 at the Prudential Center tomorrow night at 7:30 puck drop? Guys, I'm lost for words right now. I thought they play a little bit better than this. But I thought the third period last game, I thought hey, they can't sustain pressure against the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah, that third period was the it was the comeback that almost was. It was in such great progress for a full comeback, but it just came short. I was listening on the radio as I was, in transit in between, stops, but that almost chance that Wood had, it sounded just like a goal, but it was pulled back because it was, it wasn't a goal. But listening on the radio sounded like that might have been the moment.
To pull a little silver lining, because we always want to, like I always say, you got to be half glass full kind of guy.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
The first period they played really well. Nico got the equalizer. Going out of the first period, I felt really confident about the game. 1-1. They had that delay in the beginning of the game, which kind of held up the game for a couple minutes. But that second period, everything just collapsed, and it was like a combination of things. It was a combination of just bad puck luck. It was breaks. Bad breaks. I'm pretty sure whatever I was doing on my end for superstition wise, I was doing something wrong, as most fans would probably feel. And whenever things go bad, I'm always like, damn it, did I wear the wrong hat? Am I wearing the wrong shoes? What did I do wrong? That third period they came out as a different team, and I think maybe that second period in that game woke them up, and you hope that this is going to be what they carry over into the next game coming home, which I think is great because they're coming home. If they were still on the road, it's a little bit different, but coming home, I feel like they can carry that momentum.
Yeah, here's hoping they learn something from all those, different slides that they took throughout the season, where you have to learn how to pick yourself up out of a hole, and they got to do it quickly. And I know we brought that up earlier in the season, that it should be a good learning tool and a teaching tool for the coaching staff to say, hey, this is how you pick yourself up out of this hole, because come playoff time, you're gonna have to do it within, they have 24 hours, essentially, 48, I guess, to tomorrow, but they only have 1 day off in between, so that's only that's a 1 day period to figure things out before the next game.
Yeah, and I heard a lot of people, kind of saying that there was the Devils should be a little bit more physical with this Tampa Bay team. In that third period, they started to get a little bit more physical, started to kind of wear them down a little bit. You could see that, the fatigue was starting to set in with Tampa Bay. You have to remember, Tampa Bay also has, almost that entire lineup has been in the playoffs and on one team or another, so they have the experience. They know what it's like to, be in a series. I think you just have to break it down to what do they need to do period by period, shift by shift. And I know that's such an old cliche, but that's how
what you got to do.
Yeah, that's how they're going to have to look at the rest of the series. Down 0-2. It's not the first time they've come back from 0-2. Our guest tonight has a lot of experience with that, so it'll be exciting to kind of get his point of view of what do you do when you're looking down the barrel of an 0-2, series deficit.
Yeah. I know. Maybe it's just me, but I'm not. I mean, I'm concerned that they're down, but I'm not fearful like it's over yet.
Mm-hmm.
That just the way that they have, the way the Devils have played so far this season. Coming back from, multiple goal deficits and going on multi-game slides. I'm just not. I'm not super. I don't know. I'm not worried yet. If they go down 3-0 tomorrow, then I'll be worried. But
yeah, exactly. You mean that trend towards the later part of the year of lose 3, win 3, lose 3, win 3, kind of put you in a good set of mind. That's what they got to do.
The problem is if they do it this time and they lose 3, they've got to win 4.
Yeah, exactly.
They can't do lose 3, win 3. We're on the wrong side of that equation right now.
Pretty much.
I'm still not. I mean, like I said, it's a 7-game series for a reason. They come home, they've done very well at home this season.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be the friendly confines of the Rock, and I know everyone will be loud tomorrow and encouraging them to move forward. And you know what? They'll do what they can. They are a young team, so you've got to imagine the first 2 games have been just complete learning experiences for almost that entire roster. Taylor Hall included.
Yeah, exactly. You could see in game 1, Taylor Hall looked like he was trying to win the entire game by himself, and it looked like maybe he was pressing a little bit too much. Game 2, he wasn't pressing as much. And I mean, John Hines, what's tough and what people don't understand is, Tampa Bay was doing a great job in Game 1 of matching up against Taylor Hall. And John Hines did a really nice job of trying to counterpunch and mix things up and drop them out into different lines and, double shift them, triple shift them, and just get the mismatches in his way. But when you're on the road, it's a heck of a lot harder because the home team can always adjust to whatever you do. So they have a last change. They could always kind of make that adjustment. So look for John Hines to have the advantage in Game 3 and 4. I feel like, we have a lot to talk about tonight because, who do you go with in net? I think that's going to be a big question, especially how strong Corey looked in that relief. So there's a lot that we have to cover, but I feel like you said, I don't feel over worried. I feel kind of confident, but you have to take it one shift, one game, and then they can pull out Game 3. Series is a brand new series.
Yeah, I mean, either way, the key to winning is going to be stealing at least one on the road.
And if we want PK the series,
yeah. Well, and then forget about it with the kill. The kill's been non-existent, but that power play that Tampa has is just relentless.
It is, it's almost they come at you in waves. I mean, that's something that John Hines said is like that team just comes at you in waves. You got to weather the storm and then take advantage of your opportunities. And they haven't really done that, especially in the second period last game. They didn't really take advantage of. They had a lot of opportunity to either get the game closer or take advantage of going ahead. So,
yeah, and the first two games between we've started with a penalty within the first. I know it was the first 5 seconds on Wednesday, or excuse me, Thursday, and I know that penalty at the beginning of the second yesterday was really quick into the beginning of the second too. So when you're starting a period down like that, that's just a killer, and unneeded penalties too. I believe the first one yesterday was Lovejoy's delay a game, firing it over the glass. I mean, how many times has he fired the puck in that direction, and all of a sudden this time goes over the glass? And then Miles Wood penalty at the beginning of the second on Thursday was like I forget what that was, a hold or a hook or something bad. It just led to like an immediate power play goal. It's almost like if we take a penalty and we go in the box, we should just spot the Lightning a goal and just decline the penalty, put the goal on the board and move on.
And that's the thing too. And for everybody that's listening right now, feel free to chime in. What do you think that the Devils need to do to get an advantage in Game 3? I don't know if I'm like in such a weird state of mind now because it's like all I can focus on is like the game ahead. Yeah. I don't know if we've already said this or not, but during the regular season, the Devils went 3-0 and they scored the first goal in each of those games. They lose these two last games and Tampa Bay scored first. That could be just mere coincidence, or it could be just how the teams kind of match themselves up. So that has a lot to do with it. That first goal is huge. So, there's that.
No, I totally agree. I mean, you get that first goal, you're starting off on the front foot. You have the advantage at that point, and maybe you put that seed of doubt in Tampa's mind. That they may lose a game.
Yeah, and especially at home too. You get that first goal at home, get that crowd energized and in it right away. All of a sudden, it becomes a harder place to play, and that's the thing for us as fans. Like when we're in the building, there's a lot of sitting on the hands, and I know that's been one of the biggest gripes with watching a Devils game is sometimes the fans sit on their hands unless you're sitting up in the top of the stadium, with all the other lunatics. But they got it. That place has got to be jumping right off the bat. You got to sometimes
hope it does.
Yeah, seriously.
I really hope it does. I actually have the perfect solution for how the Devils can get a victory tomorrow and Wednesday. I have the perfect solution. It's going to be sending one of my hockey teammates to the game. He's a Lightning fan, and every time he goes to the game, the Lightning lose.
Yeah, we got to get that kids. You got to get tickets for every single game.
Yeah, right. Every single game, and we'll fly him down to Tampa when we need to beat them in Tampa.
Yeah, right. We'll do a little GoFundMe. We'll do a little GoFundMe and each and every game.
Yeah, right.
just got a message from Sam that says that we sound depressed. And Sam, I can assure you, we're not depressed. This is like the serious face. Normally,
Yeah, we've never been so serious.
Yeah, we're very serious. This is the time of year where you can't be too relaxed and you can't be too tense. But trust me, we're not depressed. Focused, laser focused.
No, because we both said that we were not worried about this, upcoming game. It's a bummer we're down 2-0, but we're not ultra worried yet. That'll come after tomorrow if it needs to come, but you never know. Tomorrow could be a whole different thing. That's what I'm hoping. It's a whole different game tomorrow.
Same.
And we don't know. We can only go by what they said. So, what they said, what they've done already.
And that's the thing too. Is like, I know Bryce Salvador basically said going from the second into third last game, he's like, they need to have a period where they can prove that they belong on the ice, basically. In so many words, like show the Tampa Bay Lightning that you deserve to be in the playoffs, you deserve to be on the ice, right? And they did that. So it's strange. It's going to be weird to see what kind of. I know John Hines I was reading through Twitter today. John Hines was already saying that there's going to be some roster changes. You can imagine what he's possibly thinking of. He's already made, apparently, Chris Ryan from said on Twitter that he already made his decision on who the goaltender is going to be, but he won't let anybody know until the actual game. A little gamesmanship,
okay.
But Joey Anderson.
Eddie Lack's coming up.
Yeah, right. Eddie Lack.
Eddie Lack comes up just to shut out the Lightning 4 games in a row. The Lightning will have what? The Lightning will have what? 157 shots against in 4 games, and Eddie Lack will stop all but 3, and the Devils will go on to win the series.
And then, and then he'll get shelled in the next series.
No. All we need him for is the Lightning, and then once we're done with the Lightning, Eddie Lack will go back to number 3, and then we'll move on and we'll win the cup from there. How about that?
I like that. Hey, it ends up winning the cup, so that's all that really matters, right?
Hey Sam, I hope that's a little bit more upbeat for you.
Yeah. You know what though? The funny thing is like so the Devils signed Joey Anderson to his 3-year. Yeah, his 3-year entry-level contract, which is awesome because he's going to be somebody that's going to be great for the system. I think he's going to probably be. I wouldn't be shocked if he was if he made his Devils debut in the playoffs. And the reason that I'm saying that is because by every indication, it seems like he's not going to Binghamton; that he's going straight to the big club. I could be wrong about this. I could be misreading something that I was reading earlier, but what a hell of an entrance that would be. The kid just came off winning the NCAA championship with Minnesota Duluth, so they
got to see something in him to bring him right away.
I mean, there's got to be something there, and he's got a winning pedigree. Look at what he did at the World Juniors, so the kid's got it. So let's see what happens with that. But that could be a very interesting twist to see him come up right away.
And it also be some just inner squad gamesmanship to say, hey, this new kid we're trusting right away. We're bringing him here. So if you don't pick up your game, guess who's going in? The new kid.
Exactly.
So it could be a mental thing as well, just to spur the team. You never know.
Which and that's worked before because there's been that's as a coach you always want to try to spark your team in any kind of way. There's been instances where if you look at if you watch the movie Miracle, or if you know anything about the Olympic, that happened where they actually brought a kid in who was pretty much a stud, like right towards the end, like right before the Olympics were about to start. And some of the guys on the team were pissed off about it because they're like, this guy wasn't here the whole time. He didn't grind through these practices with us. And, ended up working in Team USA's favor. So it could be just a little nudge like, hey, all right, you're not producing. Guess what? This kid's coming in hotter than all could be, He's going to come in the lineup and take your spot.
Exactly. We do have to stop our conversation. We have to welcome in former Devil, Bruce Driver. Bruce, you there? This is Short Sky and Beer Baron.
Yeah, no, I'm here. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing good, Bruce. How you doing?
Thank you so much for joining us.
No problem at all.
So we've got you on. We've got you on during the playoffs. First question that we've got is, you're a veteran on this team. What would you tell this young squad that we have?
Well, I think that's, have to focus on all the positives out of the first two games. I mean, obviously the results weren't there. As everybody knows, we're an extremely young team with limited playoff experience other than a handful of guys. And, just watching the last two games, the team needs to be obviously more consistent. And I think the leaders will stand up in the locker room and say that. You look at Brian Boyle and the experience that he's had. He's definitely probably been in the top 5 for sure in playoff games the last few years. So he's one that will definitely be leaned on towards looking for some advice. I think what you've seen is that the team's been great in different parts of the game. But the reality is, it's bad enough during the regular season that you can't take a minute off the game, but you certainly can't in the playoffs. And it's got to be a 60-minute effort and sometimes 60 plus.
Bruce, thank you very much for joining us today. My question for you is that, you've been in this situation before. In '94, you guys were down 0-2 going and playing against Boston. You came back to win the next 4 games. What was it that changed in that series for you or for the Devils that helped you come back and take that series from Boston?
Well, at the time, we were trying to find success. We went out first round the few years previous to that and hadn't really had a whole lot of success in the playoffs. Get bounced each year in that first round. So, we were as a team still growing and trying to figure out our identity. And of course, we had Jacques Lemaire at the time. And the year for us, that year was a pretty good year. And I think we just ended up going into the playoffs and maybe in the back of our minds thinking about, it's another playoff year. And maybe just worried a little bit about having success and not staying true to what the system was and how we needed to play to have success and the success that we showed all throughout that year. And, once we settled down a little bit and got back to playing our game and playing hard for 60 minutes, we wore teams out. That's how we ended up winning. I don't think that's changed today. You look at the NHL and everybody talks about the same things. There's a lot being said, not so much about, Tampa and their top flight players contributing. It's their players that maybe aren't on their first line that need to contribute. And that goes the same for every team. The year we won in 1995, Randy McKay, 4th line guy, had the second most goals for the year we won the Stanley Cup. So, it just shows you that it's a long grind. And I think for our young guys now, just need to realize and think about all the experiences that they had this year where they've been behind in games or lost a few games and, everybody expected, the season's over, and they've bounced right back. So they've shown that ability to do it throughout the whole year. And now is the most important time of the year to prove it in the playoffs.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I'm kind of hoping that they can draw some parallels and pick it up and come back with those victories. So I'm going to ask you a question kind of going back a little bit. You were drafted originally by the Rockies, who then moved to New Jersey. Did that have any, bearing on what your thoughts were, or were you just happy to be drafted?
No. Back in those times, nobody really went to the draft. I was rated in the draft to go in the 3rd round. I ended up going in the 6th round, but that year they drafted more forwards than defense. I think I dropped a couple picks if you look through the list of defensemen, but you never knew. Those things came out usually before the fact, and then after the fact, they're trying to figure out where all the guys fell. But for me, I was at home. It wasn't like the drafts of today, where a lot of the top picks are there. So just being drafted was an awesome experience, awesome feeling, because I grew up in Toronto, and being a young kid growing up in Canada, every Canadian kid's dream is to play in the NHL. So just being drafted was the first step of it, and there still had to be a lot of development along the way to get there.
So I have a quick question from one of our followers over on Facebook. Who, first of all, I have to say that everybody absolutely loves you. As soon as we said that you were going to be on the podcast, everybody went crazy. So we have a Robert Manella wanted to ask, what will help the Devils to give the players motivation to win the next game? So, what do you think? We were just talking about the possibility of bringing up Joey Anderson to the big club to kind of maybe, John Hines using that as a threat to motivate some of the other players. But what do you think that if you were in John Hines' shoes, what do you think you would use as motivation to help them prepare for the next game?
Well, I will say at this time of the year, there's no need for motivation for any coach, and I've yet to see coaches go that crazy. It only happens on occasion when teams, are with experience are not playing up to their capabilities. That's not the way to fix what's going on right now. I think again, you're talking about a young team. There's no need to motivate these guys. They're absolutely motivated. And the guys that have been around a few years understand this is they haven't been there since 2012. So I think the focus from the coaching staff is going to be, rely on the things they've relied on all year long to come out of, losing a couple games in a row, or having a bad period. I mean, everybody's pointing to both the game one and game two, how the ebbs and flows of the game, how the Devils actually kind of shot themselves in the foot in both games. Didn't have a great first half of the game, and the first game they did not have the good first half. And then finished okay. But then you look at last game, that the second period was about as bad as it can get. A lot of mistakes made, a few bounces certainly going the other way, but I think the focus needs to be on taking the positives out of what they had done all year long to bounce back. And again, like I said before, this is the time to do it.
So Bruce, I got a question with your playoff experience. How throughout the regular season, the Devils, with 3-0 against Tampa, which I know it's a whole second season in the playoffs, but they scored first in all three of those games. How important is that first goal, especially in the playoffs, in a series like this?
Well, first goal is always, it doesn't matter when it is, regular season, playoffs, you always want to get out to the lead. It's never easy to play from behind. So, obviously that's important. I think going into the game tomorrow, we're going to need our fan base to be as loud as they possibly can, and I'm sure they will be excited to be back in the playoffs. And, anytime you have your crowd behind you, we can get that first goal. It's certainly obviously a bonus and a boost for the team.
So speaking of the crowd and just the energy in the building tomorrow night, when you were in the playoffs, winning the Stanley Cup with the Devils and going on that run, do you guys as players, when you're on the ice, do you feel that energy in the building? Is that, just a myth that, the fans get energized and then you get energized on the bench? Or is that as an ex-player, do you feel like that actually did help you motivate?
No, you definitely feel their energy. There's no question. And, it's the advantages of being home are certainly playing in front of your home fans. And, also the knowing that things are consistent in how you've approached games and whether you eat at a certain place or together or sleeping in a certain place. Now, granted, we were in hotels for the most part. We're in the playoffs. I think it was more just familiar surroundings too, knowing the rink, knowing the bounces, all that stuff kind of factors in. Maybe not so much as in other sports with regard to the playing surface alone, but I definitely think that at home you definitely hear the crowd a little bit more. But certainly when you play on the road and it's a loud building, it helps both teams. I mean, certainly it keeps you in the game for sure. But again, going back, this is playoff hockey, and it's something that we. This is the time players want to play. Nobody wants to be sitting on the outside watching these games and watch other teams have success. So I'm sure Prudential Center will be extremely loud tomorrow, and that can only help the Devils.
Nice.
Yeah, that's where we're all hoping that we can push the team on and go for the next at least to win tomorrow. But the next 4 wins in a row would be nice, but that's a little tough. I'm sure you did it in '94, so you know how tough those four wins in a row can be.
Yeah, it's and no team or no player will ever tell you they're focusing on trying to win 4 games in a row, even if they're down 3-0. Focused, it's way too far ahead to think. You really just have to focus on almost little segments in the game. Get through the first 5 minutes of a game and work on the next 5 minutes. And when things are going good, then you start building on that good 5-minute stretch that you have. So. Again, tomorrow, I think the guys just got to come out with as much fire as they can and energy. And, you saw last game how when they brought that intensity and were on the puck quickly and creating turnovers. And, the bottom line, you look at the shots on goal, and they're not always an indication of how the game goes, whether you're going to win or not. The team with the most shots always doesn't win. It's obviously quality scoring chances. But we've seen enough pucks go in from odd angles that, again, you guys already alluded to it. Scoring that first goal is going to be key.
Yeah, I agree. It's funny because it feels as a fan base, at least we feel more relaxed, or at least Shorts Guy and I were just talking about this. We feel more relaxed going into Game 3 than I think I normally would. Do you get a sense of the team and everybody around the team feels the same way, that they feel confident going into Game 3? I mean, obviously nobody would say, we don't feel confident at all, but do you feel that they have a lot of confidence and what, we could right the ship and get this game, get this series back on track?
Well, they've certainly showed it all year. As we all know, playoffs are a little bit different, but they have that experience of being in the same situation throughout the year. Having good stretches, having not so good stretches. Or, there was a time this year that people had written the team off and said there's no way they're going to end up making it. They're going to go on a 10-game losing streak and never be able to recover from it, because of how young the team is. But it seems as though every time something's looked like it's going to go the wrong way and spiral downwards, the team's been able to right the ship and play a good next game and get the ball rolling again. So, I can't say enough, again, how important it is to come out tomorrow and play good right from the drop of the puck and set the tone early.
Nice.
So, Bruce, I'm going to kind of deviate from the playoff talk. I've got a question. I know I've heard that recently since you've switched to a new position. You've switched to playing goalie. How was that transition for you?
Well, it's not really a new position anymore. I've been doing it for 18 years.
Well, it's still, you had to switch at some point.
I think I'm just getting older. I don't know if I'm getting any better. I really have a true appreciation for the position. It's a very, very difficult one. And you learn a lot about yourself and learn a lot about the game. I will say this, that you see the game a little bit differently. I think as a defenseman, you see a lot of the plays develop in front of you. And, being forwards up ice, they're obviously not, when they're on the rush, not looking behind them to see what's going on. But defensemen tend to be able to read plays and see what's going on the ice and anticipate things and be in the right areas, both offensively and defensively. But the goalie sees everything. So, I've been having a little fun with it. It's been great the last few years. I've been playing on 2 different teams. One's a bunch of, fairly old guys my age, and my son resurrected a team. And he's no youngster himself at 25. It's not like I'm playing with an 18-year-old, but it's great to be able to play with your son. So I do that once a week as well, and that level's pretty fast, so it's a lot of fun.
That's pretty cool.
I gotta say, all the former guys we've spoken to so far, they all still play. So you just never get away from the game, do you?
Yeah, I'd like to say I'm in great shape, but you just don't get the skating, playing in goal that you do when you're skating out. But it is a great workout. I'll tell you, the up and down, and the moving laterally side to side, and as I said, the team that I play on with my son, it's a pretty fast pace. So I get a good sweat. There's no doubt about it. But it is. I understand a lot more about goaltending and why certain goals go in, and it's not the easiest position to play without practice. I've certainly learned that.
Oh, absolutely not. I've played it my whole life. It's definitely not easy.
That actually that also segues into a perfect question, because there's a few of our friends on Facebook here. Rob wanted to know if there's going to be any kind of lineup changes, like bringing Santini in to bring in some more size, or Melissa, who brings up the burning question. Now that you have the goaltending experience, do you go with Corey or do you go with Kincaid?
Yeah, that's a great question, and one that obviously the only people that can really answer that question are the people that are internal. They're the ones the coaching staff knows where Corey's at with regard to his recovery from injury. They're the ones in the locker room day to day and understand and know that. And the thing about Corey is he's mentally strong. He's been in the league a while, so for him to step in and play at the top of his game would be something that I think he would have no problem with. And Keith Kincaid's played so well for so long. You couldn't go wrong either way of putting either goalie in. So tough decision. But ultimately the ones that are in the locker room, working with the players day in and day out are the ones that are going to ultimately have the wherewithal to make the right decision in this case.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And I think Corey made a great case for at least getting a shot in one of these two games with the way he played going in relief after, not having so few starts in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, and not always easy. He's been sitting on the outside, sitting there and not playing. So, that's not always an easy situation to be put in, and especially with the team being down. And he's got to step in and stop pucks and hopefully have the team come back in the game. But you're right, he did play very, very well, very, very well for us.
So I once again, to kind of jump away from the playoff talk, I do have a burning question, and my older brother would be very upset with me if I didn't ask. You go from New Jersey across the river. What was the decision going from the Devils to the Rangers?
Okay, well, I've told the story. I've told the story many times, and people that know me personally, know what I'm all about. Everybody thought that I left for the money of New York, which was absolutely not the case whatsoever. We had just had the lockout, come off the lockout, and a lot was discussed with regard to the lockout. I was the Devils rep at the time, so some of the structures of contracts changed, and that was actually coming out of that lockout. There were no trade. Players had no trades, but there was really no actual line item in the contract that read, players given a no trade check mark box. I was the oldest defenseman at the time when we won the Cup that year. I was a free agent, and I really only wanted to guarantee that I wasn't going to uproot my family. I'd already been playing and living in New Jersey for 12 years. My kids were rooted in school, and I just wanted that guarantee. The Rangers called on July 1st. I didn't sign with them until I want to say it was around August 23rd, 24th. So that's an awful long time. If you just look at that time span, usually those things are done within a couple of days. And I had some very candid conversations, both with Neil Smith and Lou. And I will say that Neil Smith gave me a lot of time to continue to work with the Devils to try to work things out, and all I really wanted was that no trade clause. And Neil Smith, the very first conversation I had with him, he said, "No problem, we'll give you 3 years, no trade." And that was basically day one of free agency. So I was continuing to try to work through to get the same thing in New Jersey, and ultimately, I didn't have to be happy about it, but I understood from a business standpoint why it wasn't offered, and that was the philosophy of leaving all options open to improve the team. And somebody that had a no trade clause in their contract, that wasn't going to be the case. So, I ended up playing in New York for 3 years. They treated me very well. We had some really good success my second year there. Almost made it to the Stanley Cup final that year. The Flyers beat us out. But ultimately, I will say this, that, the day that I called Lou and I said, "Look, Neil Smith's coming to Toronto." I was there at the time, and in the summertime, I said, "He's coming to sign me to a contract, and all you have to do is, let me know if you can do that no trade. It'd be great. I'll tell him not to come." And the last words we had, he said, "Bruce," he said, "good luck." He said, "and just know the door is always open for you to return when you're done playing." And he held true to his word. which I really appreciate. And, I know the Devils fans were upset that I went there, but it was strictly for family reasons. The monetary stuff was already worked out with the Devils. And, quite honestly, I got maybe a little bit more money to play in New York, but it was never about the money.
Well, we got to tell you, having you as a Devils alumni has been.
They traded Tommy Abilene, who was the second oldest defenseman. During the 596 season. So if you do the math and the age, pretty good chance I would choice in saying where I went, right? So
true.
But, and I've been back working with the Devils organization for the last 18 years, working in the grassroots department, running the Devils Alumni Association. It's something I take pride in. Trying to give back to the community, coaching youth hockey players. I coach both girls and boys, and we're full bore in a lot of rinks throughout New Jersey, trying to grow the game, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah, and as I was just gonna say, just having you as a Devils alumni, you've always been so gracious and so kind. Case in point, coming onto our podcast tonight. I coach in the Greenbrook Hockey League, which is a roller hockey league, and we spoke to Grant Marshall, and I told him the same thing. You've come out multiple times to do our opening day and our opening day ceremonies, and you've always been so gracious to everybody. And I can't thank you enough. And we really, we can't tell you how much we appreciate you and all the things that you do. So thank you very much.
Well, it's kind of the way we grew up. Grant and I both grew up in Canada. We have such a passion for the game. Colin White and Bryce Salvador and Ken Danico also do, quite a bit of work in the community. And now that Chico Rush is back, he's in the fold too. So, we kind of grew up with that mentality of, we love our sport so much. It's what we've lived and breathed from the time we were really, really young. And we just want everybody to be able to experience it. And, I think what you're seeing now, we've certainly seen in the past few years, more and more players from New Jersey being drafted and make it to the NHL. All you need to do is look across the league. You look at players coming out of California, players coming out of Florida, Arizona. You look at what happened in St. Louis the last couple of years. I mean, and that's a function of the growth and the players giving back to those areas and helping grow hockey in all those different cities that the NHL teams are in. So it's great for our game. It's great that the alumni are want to do that and want to give back. And the reality is, it's the community that's coming to watch the games. So why wouldn't we want to give back to the people that gave so much to us and cheering for us?
No, I absolutely agree. It's we got to mention this. Our producer Sam is a Mo Beard alumni, and we're curious and how your coaching has been. How do you like coaching a Mo Beard, and what that experience has been for you?
Yeah, it's been a great experience. I coached the girls program there, and again, that dates back to the year 2000. The town I live in, our school system was very, very good. But what usually goes with that is the reputation of the school system being good. The town starts to grow in population, and our town grew extremely quickly. And ultimately, my daughter going into 8th grade, they're going to have 2 classes in one room with a room divider going on. So we were just looking for alternatives and looked at a bunch of different schools. My daughter was a softball player. We were looking at Montclair Kimberly Academy, which at the time I think were in the top 5, not in the state, in the country. So pretty good softball program. But she visited a bunch of schools, and she really liked Morristown Baird School. So sent her there, and I can tell you it was one of the best experiences that she had, both from an academic standpoint, an athletic standpoint, and a community like Morristown Baird is. And she never really played hockey before. I shouldn't say she never played hockey before. She could skate, but there was a gentleman that had coached with the boys for years and years and years, and unfortunately had suffered a stroke. But he was pushing the school to start a girls program for years and years and years, and they finally listened to him and relented. And he said, I can't skate, so I need to find somebody to help me. And he found out my daughter was in the school, and word trickled through, and they asked me if I'd be willing to be an associate coach or a co-coach for that year. And I said, yeah, great. And once I started, I couldn't stop. It's just coaching boys and girls. There's certainly some differences, but I tell you, the passion and the love that the girls have for the game compared to the boys is very similar. And we've had some really, really good teams. I've had girls move on to play Division I college hockey. I've actually 2 girls right now playing in Division I schools. I've had a bunch of girls go play Division III college hockey. I had one girl back from one of the early years that went to American University and actually started their club hockey program. So it's pretty neat that the opportunities for these girls to move on and play college hockey are there as much as it is for the boys now. And I continue to do it year in and year out, and it's always difficult. You go through the 4 years and you have to say goodbye to your senior class. And this past year we have 6 seniors, so it's a pretty large class and very, very good hockey players that are leaving us this year. And now we just look to reload and refire for next year.
I'm going to have to echo your thoughts there. The high school team I coached for, we had our year-end banquet last night, and we had to say goodbye to a couple really awesome sophomores and a goaltender I've been working with for 4 years. And that's always a kind of a bittersweet day because you're sending them off into the world, yet you're not going to have them for the next season, and you're hoping you have someone that can slot right in. So I completely get where you're at with that one.
Yeah, it always is. And the other thing that I find really rewarding, and the situation happened to me once with the girls program. Now we're just talking about an individual program because it's a high school team. But I did have a girl that had gone on and finished college and came back, was living in the area and had a job and lost her job, was looking for something to do. And she came on and helped me be an assistant coach for 1 year, which was great to have her back in the mix. Ultimately she went and got a job, and out she went, and, she's out in the world doing great things. But I coach a boys program as well, Montclair Blues, and we had the same thing. We had our year-end dinner, and all the coaches there, all the managers of the teams, and looking over at one table, and I see a table with 6 kids, and they're not kids anymore, but 6 gentlemen that I coached that are now coaching in that organization. So it's great to see that these young people have gone through youth hockey programs and have come back to the area and come back to their roots, and they're now coaching. So it's pretty rewarding as a coach to go through that whole cycle of coaching them and having them coach in an organization that you've been working at as well. I've been doing that for 18 years, and my son's one of them, so it's pretty neat.
That is pretty neat, and it's got to be kind of cool to see, like you said, the game growing. We talked to Tatiana Rafter from the Riveters, and we were saying the same thing. It's an amazing thing that the Devils were partnering with the Riveters and just watching the game grow like that. So it's a really cool experience.
Yeah, you know what, and they've been great for the area too. Lorna Cook, who's their assistant coach, one of their assistant coaches, she's new this year, colleague of mine. I've coached against her now for a number of years. She's at Princeton Day School, and she kind of did the 2 teams. She was head coach at Princeton Day School and helping be an assistant coach with the Riveters, and they did great things this year. I was able to go down and watch a bunch of their games, and Lorna actually set up the very first New Jersey girls high school all-star game right before a Riveters game. And again, that's something that in our community, I'm seeing the ebbs and flows of girls playing hockey, and sometimes the girls play with the boys up to a certain age, and everybody's a little bit different. Some girls just want to play with the girls and others don't. But the reality is there's a lot more kids playing, both boys and girls. And having the Riveters in the area and the relationship that we've built with them, with the Devils, and for them to have the success in winning their championship was really big for this area.
Well, Bruce, it looks like we're running out of some time here, so I'd like to say thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. It's been a great honor, and it's been a real great conversation with you tonight. So thank you, and by all means, you're welcome back to the podcast anytime.
Thank you very much, guys, and let's go Devils, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go Devils. All right, that was pretty cool. Bruce Driver on.
Yeah, dude, that's that I gotta tell you, it's crazy. We've had a chance to talk to some pretty legendary Devils, and getting a chance to talk to Bruce Driver. Once again, the bubble guts for me were working a little early. It's just crazy, you know. You talk to somebody that you grew up watching and idolizing, and it's pretty cool to get his perspective, especially as a former player and somebody that's still involved with the team. So very cool.
I agree, and I know that you have the same feeling too. Never, ever would I ever thought that we'd be talking to former Devils this year. This is so cool. And again, we're just regular fans. This is the cool part. We're just like regular fans. And I think people notice that. And this is just we're now kind of living out, I guess, sort of a dream, if you want to call it that, getting to talk to former Devils. This is so cool.
Yeah, guys, I got to tell you something. When Bruce talked about the Rangers, I almost couldn't do it because
you can't. I think I would have been very upset with you if you did that.
Yeah, especially after his explanation. Absolutely, I would have been upset, Sam.
Yeah, and which by the way, his explanation makes 1,000% sense. And I like that. I almost didn't want to ask that, but my brother was like, "Please, you have to ask."
Yeah. I was hesitant about that as well.
But I was very curious myself, because you see that jump from the Devils to the Rangers, and the players, and you could hear it when he was saying they know how passionate the fan base is, and he said, there was a lot of us that were brokenhearted when he went across the river. So for the fans like my brother and myself, now we have that we can close the chapter on that small little book right there. So,
yeah, absolutely. I just gotta, before we start talking about the next game, I'm just gonna say what's up to Jeff Howard. He just joined in. So what's going on, Jeff? Which leads me into we have to talk about tomorrow, and my note page just closed out. Unfortunately, here we go. Yeah, I know. We were talking about automatic updates earlier, and it just almost happened. All right.
Yeah.
So, for anyone that's out there listening, feel free to chime in on your thoughts about, what Game 3 is going to bring. But I think my keys to this one, we got to score the first goal, and we have to stay out of the box.
I think that's it. I think those are the two most important things, and you could sit back and say that's a very easy thing to say, because it is. It's very easy for us to pontificate on what goes on and what's wrong. And as fans, like, we tend to forget, like, there's times where we're screaming at the TV, and what drives me nuts is, I try not to do it as much anymore, especially I'm getting older, but there's fans that are like,
you stop saying that because we're the same age. Stop saying that.
I feel like I'm 65 sometimes, but there's sometimes
stop.
you see like how everybody is like, Kincaid's going to carry us to the cup. Kincaid. We were on board, and I was on board.
Yeah, we're all on board.
He has two really rough games, and I mean that's the game 2 was really, really rough, and it wasn't all his fault. It doesn't feel like all these goals in the series have been his fault. But then Schneider steps in, and I guarantee there is a select few fans that were like, just let him let up like 4 goals so there's no controversy.
Yeah.
Let the game be a blowout. So there's like, he comes in and he actually does really, really well. He looked really sharp. So was he sharp because he's now, like Bruce was saying, mentally focused and ready to roll? Or is he sharp because he's ready to finally go? He's tuned up? Or was that just like, hey, he was sharp because he was sharp?
Yeah. Well, I mean, think about the Penguins. Fleury, lost it, and they put Matt Murray, and Matt Murray carried them all the way to the Stanley Cup. Mm-hmm. It's not out of the realm. I mean, Snyder is he hasn't won a cup yet, but Snyder is a well-accomplished goaltender, and he can absolutely get to that level. I think we're now having this argument of the 1 and the 1A. Who do you put in? This is a great argument. This is a great problem to have. Not, I don't want the Devils being down 2-0. However, if one of your goaltenders, skips a beat, you've got someone equally as skilled to throw into the net. which is a great problem. And we've talked about the Devils' depth all year, and they've seemed to have interchangeable players throughout the season. And, even forward and defensemen, we've got all those players. So, yeah, we haven't played very well the first 2 games. They also haven't gotten very much in the form of puck luck at all.
And some of the calls have been brutal.
Well, yeah, and I hate bringing up the officials, but
So do I.
But at the same time, like, you shouldn't be getting a penalty 5 seconds into the second period either.
Mm-hmm.
That's just not good either. So I think the end of the third period, the entire third period yesterday was hopefully a indicator of what's to come tomorrow. And it seemed like they tried going out with a little bit of grit at the end of the game too. Again, I was listening on the radio, so I couldn't see for sure. But that's all you can do. And I know, for example, at the end of game 2, Minnesota was they were losing. They were getting into some fisticuffs at the end of the game. And last I saw before we went on air, they were up 3-2. So sometimes it's those statement shifts at the end of a game that aren't going to win you a game, but they're at least going to win you the momentum into the next game.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, Bruce nailed it on the head. You got to grab the positives out of the game, and that third period in the last game was a very big positive. Take away that second period, the Devils win the game. I know that's a stupid thing to say, but it's true. And I agree with David on our Facebook page. I still believe the Devils in 6. I believe they're gonna.
Yeah, me too. We all picked Devils in 6.
Yeah,
not me.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Game 7 over there.
Sam said 7 because he works for the NHL. He likes the numbers.
Yeah.
But
I thought I said Devils in 5.
The Devils aren't the only team that are in an 0-2 hole, and right now the Blue Jackets are on the verge of pushing the Capitals into an 0-2 hole. Look at the Wild. The Wild were down 0-2. They came back and won 6-2 tonight.
6-2. Yeah, I just looked that up before.
So
yeah,
it's
possible.
Exactly. Crazier things have happened. Somebody was saying to me, they're down 0-2. The series is over, and blah blah blah. And I'm like, why is the series automatically over? They're like, well, if they win, they're still down 2-1. And I'm like, they've been. You got to think about it like this: how many series have the Devils gone into where they win the first game and then lose the next 2, and then still find a way to win the series?
Oh yeah,
it's Yogi Berra said it best, and it's not over until it's over.
Exactly. Well, Sam, I just looked it up. You said Devils in 5, so
I'm
wrong.
still sticking to that prediction.
Sam, it's impossible.
Gonna get into the Wayback Machine, make it happen, Mr. Peabody style.
Seriously. Oh,
dude.
Well,
I don't know.
Those are, and then there's going to be the big debate all day tomorrow until we see the starting lineup.
Until
who's the starter? Who's going to be the starter?
All right, well, Shorts guy, let's go to you. It's being that you're the goaltender, so put yourself in both shoes. Put yourself in Kincaid's shoes. Pre-series, you're coming into this series. You're the hot goaltender. Everybody's in love with you. Even the experts in the game were saying like how Kincaid's the hottest goalie in the NHL right now. Blah 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 blah. Then you have these 2 stinkers. 100% weren't your fault, but you're still the last option before the puck goes in the net. So you got to figure that he had some kind of say in it. So what is your opinion as you try to catch your breath?
Yeah, hold on real quick.
I have him on mute.
Yeah.
We'll keep the mute button on him. We'll keep the mute. You cough away, Shorts guy.
Yeah, cough.
I got the cough. Cough.
So David said, you stick with Kincaid because he got you to this point, right? True. Very, very true. But Kincaid, on paper, is still your backup. Your number 1 goalie is sitting on the bench. So someone, Shorts guy brought up a good point about Matt Murray and Fleury. Fleury was a different situation because, I guess not, because Fleury was the number 1. Murray was coming in. They liked Murray a little bit more. Murray has, I think, more of a pedigree than Kincaid does. So what about you, Sam? What do you think? Who do you think is going to be in net starting tomorrow's game?
This is what I think, and I'm going to look at Facebook Live, Periscope, and YouTube. This is exactly what I think. You're paying Corey Schneider $7 million to sit the bench. If you're going to make a move, it's got to be game 3.
Get the fire
Make
lit
it now.
right?
Make it now. That third period, I thought the whole team played a little bit better. It's all about momentum. If you start Kincaid and he loses game 3, it doesn't matter if you start Corey Schneider in game 4. It's not.
Nope.
It's over by then.
It's over. Yeah,
Most likely. It's
even if they go on to win game 3, and well, okay, let's say this: Schneider starts game 3. The Devils go on and win, but they win a very close game. Let's say 5-4. At that point, once you've made the move, it's done, right? It's done. You wash your hands with it, then it's Schneider the whole way out, right? You don't bounce back and forth and start messing with goalies. And
remember Marc-Andre Fleury and Matt Murray. Remember those goaltending changes, or Chris Terreri and Martin Brodeur back in '94. You look at all the changes. But usually you go younger with those changes, not older. So that's you know what I say, go with Corey Schneider. You have to go with Schneider at this point. What do you have to lose? You're down 0-2. It's not Kincaid's fault. I think maybe the little Chipotles and Taylor Acord has distracted the guy. I have no idea, but you're paying the guy $6.5, $7, whatever $million. If he comes through game 3, great, you got game 4. If he gives up 5 goals, guess what, Ray Shero? You may want to trade him in the offseason.
All right, so then that brings up another question. He brings back Kincaid. Kincaid plays, right? So Kincaid goes into goal, starts game 3. They lose game 3. He sticks with them, plays game 4. Either they win or lose game 4. It doesn't matter. So let's say the Devils lose the series with Kincaid in net. You never went back to Schneider at any point. You got to think that's got to probably rub Schneider the wrong way. So you think this could also cause something over the offseason where you might have to move him regardless. I mean, now we're.
I don't know. First of all, sorry for all that coughing fit.
We're almost dying.
Yeah, right. I woke up with something Wednesday morning and I'm just shaking it, and I was fighting that cough for like 3 minutes before. As soon as you asked me that question, it was whatever. So, I think Corey's got something to prove. He lost the starting position to injury. He can't control that. That happens.
Mm-hmm.
He comes back. It takes him some time to get back to readjusted to playing and to getting back to where he was. But at the same time, Kincaid took his opportunity and ran with it, and showed the type of goaltender he is. Flash forward to yesterday. Schneider goes in, plays, really well. Now, I think since it was not Kincaid's fault, but you can say as a whole, the team has not been playing very well until the third period yesterday. And now, sometimes this goaltending change can really spark an entire team-wide change. And it's a great problem to have 2 really good goaltenders. I'm sure there have been a lot of Devils fans out there waiting for this moment to say, see, it should have been Snyder. It's a tough one. I'm gonna, I wouldn't, because Kincaid's been playing so well, but with the way that Snyder played yesterday at the end of the game,
it gave you more.
Point, yeah. But even you were just saying, like, if you let's say we were to go 0-4, or we put Snyder in after we lose game 3, and then we go to lose game 4, even though it doesn't really make a difference with the series, the question is going to be, well, why didn't you make that change sooner? It's, these guys are paid a ton of money to coach and to play. And the coaches have to make that decision. It's not supposed to be fair. It's supposed to be who's going to win. And if they absolutely believe that Snyder's going to be the guy to get them that win tomorrow, and which could prolong the series, which could completely turn the series, you have to put him in net. Yeah. If they have their full confidence that this team can turn it around with Kincaid, then you put Kincaid in net. Either way, there's got to be a change because just nothing has worked. Nothing has worked. And I guarantee they've all heard about staying out of the box ad nauseum at this point. That's going to be the first thing, is staying out of the box. And just sometimes playing that, sometimes with that goaltending switch, which I hated being pulled. But, sometimes if you do that goalie change, it kind of wakes the whole team up saying, hey, we really let Keith down and now he's on the bench. Like, we got to do something.
Yeah.
And, they kind of, and they turn it around. A lot of times if I have to pull a goaltender in a game, it's more so for them, so that they're not losing their confidence. And that also could have been why they pulled Kincaid yesterday. It'd be like, hey, listen, the team is playing like garbage in front of you. We don't want you to lose your full confidence. We want you to rest up for Monday.
Yeah.
That also could have been the situation as well.
Sam nails something on the head, though. But, Sam said something just a minute ago. He's like, you're paying Schneider $6 million. You know what I mean? Like, you're paying him $6 million. You can't be paying him $6 million to sit on the bench during the most important part of the season. So I agree with that. But at the same time, like you were bringing up, this isn't a cut dry answer because you have Kincaid who led you down the stretch. The last 20 some odd games, and is one of the main reasons that you were in the playoffs. That Western trip, you can point to the big games that he had against Pittsburgh. You can point to the big game that he had, some of the big saves that he had during that stretch run that really kept the Devils in the game and gave them the opportunity to come back and win. So it's not as if, I don't know, and one part of you is like, yes, this is it. They need to start Schneider. And then the other part of me is like, why step away from what's been working? You've seen him rebound before. He's had terrible games before, and he's come back and he's played stellar. So
the margin of error is just so small here, though. That's the thing.
Yeah, I'm going to stop it there. I'm going to stop you guys there. It hasn't worked the last 2 games. That's 2 out of 7 potential games in the Stanley Cup playoffs. You got to change it up. Like, I'm at here's my little playoff beer that I'm growing since after Saturday's live event at Tavern on the Rocks. I'm about to shave this tomorrow because we're 0-2. Like, you got to start. You got to get something. And if you're going to make a change, you better make it for Game 3. You don't make it for Game 4. By then, it's too late.
Exactly. You're 100% right about that part.
You have to make that change, and I like both goaltenders. I think both goaltenders are more than competent. But again, you have to do something that's going to spark the entire team. It's a team sport, and it's not just one position.
Exactly. Hey guys, I'm gonna fade in a graphic real quick. Let me put that up here. The injury report. Shorts guy, your throat is starting to go, and I just wanted to put that in there. Let me play the audio.
Stellar.
Oh my gosh. I can't believe I'm on the injury report.
Yes. Shorts guy's throat is day to day. He is
upper body injury, man. You can't reveal what it is. It's upper body.
It's upper body injury for playoffs.
Just upper body.
He is probable for Game 3.
Okay. Works for me.
I don't know, boys. We'll see. We'll see. Like you said, Short Sky, all will be revealed tomorrow.
Yeah.
We'll see the changes in the lineup because by all accounts, it seems like Coach Hines is going to try to shake some things up. Does that mean Mojo is coming back in? Is he ready to go? Is he medically cleared?
That's right.
Who knows? Who knows? I know a lot of people were calling the Maven posted on Twitter yesterday. You know, who do you think needs to be taken out of the lineup? And everybody and their mother was saying Grabner. People, give the guy a break. He's playing on a fourth line.
Yeah.
Just give him some credit, please. Don't give up on him. Beating a lot of experience. Okay, we need that,
guys. MH Height writes, it's a difficult choice because of both goaltenders can change the tide of this series. Good point. Also, I want to give a shout out to Arlette. She joined the Facebook Live group. Want to give a shout out to our esteemed administrator of the Let's Go Devils group, Melissa Dawn, for setting up wonderful guests like Bruce Driver, Grant Marshall. Thank you, Melissa. You're doing a great job. She got promoted to administrator today. Actually, it's more like I forgot to, move her up from moderator to administrator. Like she's been asked last year, and I keep on forgetting. So I figured that out today. But also,
Sam, you want to announce our new way our listeners can hear us?
Oh yeah, let's do some plugging here. So we're on iTunes right now. We have a podcast page where you can catch the show tonight. I'll put it up in a couple hours. Both the interview of Bruce Driver and the whole show, episode 28. So you can go on iTunes, type in "Let's Go Devils." And ignore the other podcasts out there, and go to ours. Give us a nice review. Also, you can go to letsgodevils.com, and that is our podcast page. But also, you could hear us live audio. So if you're driving, we wouldn't want you to be on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, or Periscope while you're driving, because that'd be a little bit dangerous. If you're, watching the podcast like this and you're driving. I know I'm not gonna. Yeah, it's a little bit illegal. It's dangerous. That's why you could Bluetooth the letsgodevils.com. You go there. We don't have a website yet, but you can at least live stream the audio. You can hear our voices. You just can't see us, and you could drive to the Devils game, listening to the podcast, the Let's Go Devils podcast. So it's another way. We're also submitting our podcast to other venues right now. What else? Where else can you get the podcast?
We're on Instagram now. So if you want to go to Instagram, Let's Go Devils, Let's Go Devils podcast on Instagram. We're going to be starting to add some behind the scenes things. So you'll start to see a little bit more. We're going to lower the curtain a little bit so you can get to know us a little bit too. Stuff like that, fun stuff.
Where
can we go to buy one of those nice looking shirts behind Sam? I see this beautiful Let's Go Devils t-shirt behind Sam there. Can any of the fans listening, can they go and buy that somewhere, Short Sky?
Yeah. I believe I posted the link to my group, but I have them up in my store, and I completely forget the there it is. I actually have to go there because I am totally blanking on what the website address is. So, give me a moment here. Here we go. View my shop. There it is. It's SG Apparel, SGAPPAREL.bigcartel.com, and you'll find it there amongst other shirts that I sell for my company and a few other people there. But SG Apparel at bigcartel.com. I'll make sure to post that on the group again as well.
Very cool. Well, gentlemen.
And, mind you, it was the great beer baron who came up with the design. So let's give the credit where the credit's due in the design. I just put it on a shirt.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it, gentlemen. It's game 3. Let's get it. We got to get it going. Yeah. I don't know about you. I'm very, very excited about the game. I knew, like we said before the series started, you could not count on that regular season series being a factor of how this was going to play out. They have to rewrite the series. So starting it now.
It's a new series starting tomorrow. And we'll find out at some point in the day tomorrow who is going to be our starting goaltender, which I think is going to be a big debate between now and then.
Hey, tune into our Instagram page. I'll be posting that as soon as I find it. So as soon as we're here tomorrow, I'll be posting up the lineups for everybody. So
Awesome.
We have those inside tracks. We might have some inside information we can share with you.
It's possible. Sam, you gonna do you wanna do a mulligan on the outro since you screwed up the intro?
Don't worry. After this podcast, I will show you exactly where I screwed up at, and I'll show you my skills off air because that's when I'm usually, a lot better. Well, we will be back next week, Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern, Facebook Live, Periscope, Twitter, YouTube Live, on our podcast page, letsgodevils.com. Till next time, Game 3 tomorrow. Let's go Devils.